been told that we gotta leave that conversation for Kenya Power out for now and move on to the last issue that we have for you, where the Parliamentary Budget Office reckons that the civil servants should continue to work from home to help the state reduce billions of shillings spent on training, maintenance of cars and computers, office internet, tea, and other perks extended to government employees. A report by the Auditor General also now indicates that the state saved 7.1 billion on travel and hospitality allowances for civil servants in the 6 months to September, as they were directed to work from their homes after imposition of restrictions on a movement and bans on social gatherings as part of measures to curb the spread of the pandemic. Now, the report further shows that travel and hospitality allowances for civil servants dropped 51% to 7.396 billion in the 6 months to September last year from 15.306 billion. In its latest review of Kenya's expenditure, the World Bank says the country could save up to 30 billion in the year 2 or 2.5 billion monthly to civil servants reduced local and foreigner trips, which often involves lavish travel allowances. Fine. So what has been our recurrent expenditure? Let's look at that trend. Are we maintaining it from this data that we'll show you this morning? Which, if you can now on that data for recurrent expenditure, no, we are not. Looks as if we are struggling with it. All the way from 2016 to 2020 has been on an increasing trend despite our government's efforts to make sure that it's put to rest. Arnold, best way to go, say, civil servants, work from home for good.
Those numbers are mind-boggling, and I think we started seeing these numbers in the wake of COVID-19.
Yes.
In the wake of COVID-19, we've seen all manner of statistics and numbers coming in on how much the government is saving money because of the effects of COVID-19. And I think the reason as to why World Bank is really keen on these numbers is because of the austerity measures which they've proposed, which are in line with some of the facilities which they're advancing to the country. And of course, it's not feasible for all government employees to work from home. But ideally, I think it would work wonders, and probably that money would be used for other essential items like health, So austerity measures will have to come in. I think those are conditions we can't run away from. If you look at the obligations the country has with the IMF, World Bank, and also the Paris Club, the conditions were that as a country, austerity has to come in one way or the other. So we can't run away from that as a country. So I think this simply means that government should find ways of cutting, quote unquote, unnecessary spending.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that even with the county governments, most county governments simply duplicated what the central government was doing. When most county governments came in, you had guys fighting to go for benchmarking trips so that they could get their PRDMs, which is very unfortunate. So as a country, we need to relook our position and cut unnecessary spending and basically do the bare minimum as far as spending is concerned for the sake of the country, for the sake of the economy, and for the sake of the national budget. So I think it's a way to go, but we know it will not happen. It's not feasible. It will not happen, but we need to cut costs as far as the government spending is concerned.
Pretty much. Ogwang, Arnold says it's not visible. You can't assume that now everybody has to work from home. But 30 billion, 2.5 billion monthly, that's what we need, man. Is it possible for us to say, wow, guys, work from home, computers and internet, that's what we provide?
Okay. The challenge is this.
Yes.
If government works from home, government never produces anything. So then that means the ripple effect of that is that there are people in the private sector
Yes.
that are going to go belly up. So the challenge is not government, people working from home. Government never produces anything. So when we lose that point of contact from supply,
Yes.
right? And that's why I agree with Arnold. It's something that is I don't know, it's not thought out. Of course, now that everyone is talking about COVID and now we need to be worried. But let me ask you, there's something that in the recommendation of the Auditor General, the challenge was, let us cut down on training, let us cut down on maintenance and cars. This is actually the reason why government can never perform. When the private sector now is investing ridiculous amount of money to upgrade the competitive efficiency of their people, government is cutting down on training. You know, that's a ridiculous government. When people, organizations out there trying to understand how do we cope up and how do we redefine business models, government is actually cutting down on training. I would wish we cut down on anything else. And that is the reason why government is not efficient. That is the reason why government is not competitive. But I guess the challenge is this. I wouldn't mind, right? I wouldn't mind how many levels of government we have. The only challenge is our government productive? That they might actually deliver on service, but guess what? We want government to be productive as far as economic front is concerned. To that extent, among anything else that the Auditor General said, I wouldn't want we cut down on training. No one understands the measures that we need to put in place so as just to cope up with COVID-19.
Yes.
Government ought actually now to invest in upgrading competitive efficiency of their own people. So if there is something that government should be doing now is to engage training. How do we understand? How do we deliver? How do we develop models that can actually work in as much as we are doing service delivery, but can we be productive? Government is not productive. We are going to cut spending, but guess what? You can cut all you want, but as the people that you are actually sustaining are not productive. That is the key word. So in order for us to arrive at all this is for us to ask ourselves, are we productive? If our state agencies and if our state ministry was supposed to be productive, what do we need to put in place? We would actually need to ask ourselves, do we need to develop and upgrade our skill set as a government?
Yes.
That is what we need. The money being lost, this is just a smoke screen. The World Bank tells us we want to save 30 billion. Who told you they're actually stealing 2 billion per day? Right? So the World Bank is late. I don't know from where they are reading, but the World Bank is actually very late.
Yes.
So the thing is this, we need to upgrade. We need benchmarking. We shouldn't take away benchmarking. Regardless, we should not take away benchmarking. Why? Because the county governments came into a new phenomenon that they don't even understand. So there is room for benchmarking. But the problem is we don't actually just benchmark for the sake of a theoretic, but want to benchmark in the Eastern South. Can we make our counties to be productive?
Yes.
That is what we are really lacking.
Yes.
Yes, Simba.
Pretty much. There's no better way for us to come to the end of a business this week. Do you agree with Agwang that, well, we're losing money either way, but what we should not cut is on benchmarking and training. That's what the government needs to perform. Talk to us, 20146 at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. Agwang, thank you very much for coming by, man.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. And Olds, thank you very much for joining us this morning, sir.
Asante sana.
All right, and that is us for this week. See you Monday.